Like if they're
Yes.
going to be able to like get a good job, if they're going to be
Yes.
able to go into college,
Mm-hmm.
like the rest of their trajectory can be impacted by just one great teacher.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Candace, who's that one great teacher for you?
Oh wow. Let me think. So I think I have my American history AP teacher
Okay.
when I
She's
was
smart,
in
y'all.
high
She
school.
took AP classes.
Maybe one or two. I'm not going to talk about the AP scores, but I did take some classes, and that's really all that matters. But his name was Mr. Green, and he loved what he did.
Okay.
And he'd been doing it for years, and he could sit and talk to you about American history AP for hours and hours on
Okay.
end. And I think that made an impact. It made us want to be there. It
Mm-hmm.
made us want to learn, to go to the library, to research, because that was back in the days when you went to the library,
Yes.
social media,
Mm-hmm.
internet was not around.
And you had to go to those hardback encyclopedias.
You would. You were pulling a book off the shelf and looking at it. Kids don't know anything about that anymore.
Oh, Lord.
But Mr. Green got me to love that.
Okay. Good,
Yeah.
good. And Libby, what's the one teacher that has had a big impact on your life?
So I grew up in a very tiny town.
Okay.
And went
They
to
only had one red light, right?
one stoplight in the whole county.
Oh,
We
geez.
call them counties in
Oh, I was
Virginia,
like,
not
what's that?
parishes.
Okay.
And so a lot of what I did felt easy in school until I took Latin, which is a dead
Oh.
language and
You're
nobody
smart.
speaks it. But I had a teacher there who used to be a professor at Duke University.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he really pushed us. And I remember thinking, like, why is this man making me work so hard?
Mm-hmm.
But I learned so much. I became a better writer and a reader. And then I didn't have to take a language in college, thanks to Dr.
There you
Settle.
go.
So it made a huge impact in my life and career.
Nice, nice, nice. I think back to one of my favorite teachers. It was Dr. Mr. Bill Robinson. He taught at Carr. Everybody knows Coach Rob. He was also the basketball coach. So just thinking about the teachers who also teach, but like their impact goes beyond their classroom sometimes too.
Huge.
So yeah, he was the basketball coach and he was my student council advisor. Now I didn't play basketball. I don't want nobody to think that I'm not athletic. I don't have a bit of athletic bone in me. But yeah, just knowing that those great teachers, they put the time in, they stay year over year, and they are making an impact beyond their classroom walls.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. So while I have you, when we talk about teacher retention, is this just a New Orleans thing, a Louisiana thing, or is it just messed up all over the country?
Yeah,
Talk to me.
I mean, Louisiana and New Orleans are very special. But when it comes to keeping teachers and how we pay our teachers to keep them, we are not unique in this. This is
Okay.
for sure a national challenge that we're
Okay.
seeing all over the country. And there's a really big connection between, to what Candace was saying about how much it matters to have a great teacher and how much money they get paid.
Yes.
Also.
Oh my goodness! All right, so what do we notice? What are other urban districts similar to New Orleans? What are they starting to do? Like we got Atlanta, for example. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, so one of the things that we're seeing is there is a talent crisis. We just are seeing fewer and fewer people who want to go into teaching. Enrollment in teacher prep programs has dropped off dramatically,
Okay.
almost 40% in the last 10 to 15 years. And so schools and school districts are being really thoughtful about how they do that. And what we've seen in Atlanta, we're seeing a little bit in East Baton Rouge, is people are really putting money into paying teachers. DC has always been this model, but right now Atlanta has said, hey, look, we are really going to make a difference
Yeah.
and pay teachers a lot more than we have been paying them before.
Yeah, and I think that to your other point about being creative, you also see in JP schools where they are trying to hire part-time teachers too
Yep.
now. Just to be as innovative as possible to get quality humans in front of our students to teach them.
That's right.
Yeah, it's definitely pushing. What I'm noticing is pushing district leaders, charter management leaders to really think about what is it that we can do that is going to make the impact so that teachers are showing up, teaching day to day, and that we're going to support them. And that goes a long way.
It does.
All right. So then, Candace, over the past 5 years, so we're thinking about pre-pandemic, post-pandemic. All right. Put your thinking cap on with me. What are some of the trends you have noticed regarding teacher recruitment and retention?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. It is not the same.
It is not the same. Okay.
Yeah, like, we can just stop right there. Whatever you thought you knew about teacher recruitment and retention, throw it out the window. It does not exist anymore. But since COVID, it's been a little bit of like the wild, wild west. What we thought we knew, it just is no longer.
Okay.
As Libby was sharing, teacher prep programs are not bringing in the number of teachers that they used to bring in. It is hard to find them. It has never been as hard as it's been. Like, we are in unprecedented territory in finding people and then also in keeping them. Part of that is because COVID taught teachers that the skills that they have, what they've got in their toolbox, they've got other avenues.
They can look at data. They know how to analyze data, collect data. They know how to talk to adults. They know how to
all those things.
Work from home on Zoom.
Yes.
Like, they can give quality presentation.
Yes, like so many of the skills, and I guess they didn't realize it before, but they have so many skills that are transferable to anywhere. Like, they're becoming consultants.
Yes.
They are starting their own businesses. They are also realizing that they can teach from home. So if you're in an area that does not offer that option, they can find that option somewhere else. The other thing that we're seeing with teachers is that they are no longer willing to be in a profession that pays them less, just for the nobility of being a teacher, not just for saying, "Oh, I'm in this like respected profession," or one that's highly regarded. The simple cost of living here in New Orleans doesn't allow them that luxury to be able to say, "Well, I don't need to bring home enough money." What they're making is just not benefiting them enough to be able to remain in teaching. They want to be able to have a job that they love, a job that they are respected, but also be able to like take their kids out to the movies, to be able to not have to worry about, I've got to make a choice between doing this and paying for my homeowner's insurance, or doing this or paying for my mortgage.
That's real, Candace.
Right now, what we're paying our teachers is not allowing them that. And I think there was a big wake-up call, a big eyes became open after COVID of like, well, I may love this, but I have other options.
Yeah, that is definitely true. I have seen it firsthand. People are just anxious, to make a sustainable living wage.
Yeah, and it's not even about, oh, I need to be like the highest paid person in my family. I just want to be able to live.
And if I want to go to Ruth Chris on a Wednesday night,
that too. Yes. If I want Saints tickets, I want to be able to do that and not have to sacrifice lights for tickets.
We got some teachers, honestly, still eating ramen noodles.
We do. We have some teachers that are driving Uber. We have some teachers that have a second or third job just to be able to make it. And that is one of those things where you've got a high achieving teacher who also has to get a job at the mall. Like, those are things that shouldn't be happening.
That's so true. Candace, when you all started the school year, how many vacancies did y'all have?
Let me think about that. So we were very creative in our modeling this year. So we probably did not start as many as we could have. But we had around 30 vacancies to start the school year. Which is, you don't want 30 vacancies to start the school year. Our goal is always to have 0.
Yes.
But we had about that many starting this school year, and it was simply because the people weren't out there. And we always want the best, but sometimes, you have to find someone to start the school year. And even with that, we still couldn't find people.
Got it. Wow.
Yeah. I'm not going to say lower in the bar because I'm not going to say that. But you always want the best of the best.
Yeah.
And people are leaving the profession.
At an alarming rate.
Yes. Alarming, unprecedented. Like, no one knows what to do.
And you have teachers,
but we know ways to keep them.
And I think, too, you have a lot of teachers that are like, hey, I got my years, and I'm going to go ahead and retire, too.
Yes, they're retiring. They are starting new professions. They've said, I've put my time in, and which is great. I want people to be able to do that, but you don't have the other people coming in. It used to be a cycle of, this 20-year, 30-year, 40-year is leaving, but then you've got somebody else coming in. There's no one else coming in, but people are still leaving.
Whew. Jeez. All right. So, Libby, let's talk to you for a second, because people tell me you're the guru. So let's
She
see.
is.
Let's see what knowledge you have that you can share with us.
Oh, it's a quiz.
All right. Now, what is the current median teacher salary across Orleans Parish?
Yeah, so luckily NSNO has done 5 years of research. We've done all these compensation studies to say what are teachers actually making. And what we see is if you look across the whole city, the median teacher salary is $55,000.
Okay.
Is what we see.
55,000. Mm-hmm. Libby, when you first started teaching, what did you make?
My very first year teaching, 2004, I think I made $32,000.
Wow. And then when I first started teaching, 10 years ago, I made $41,500. Oh, jeez.
And folks are making more. So now if you are a new to teaching teacher in New Orleans, you're going to make around $50,000 in the city, which then is interesting because if you're like, okay, we're going to look at all teachers, the median of all teachers, not just new folks, are making 55, but they're starting at 50. What does that tell us about salary growth over time?
Ooh. Them little $250 a year added ain't moving the needle.
It's not.
All right. And is there, Libby, just because we know in New Orleans we have a special context. We know that we do have one district school this year, the Leah Chase School. Looking forward to all the things that's going to happen over there for our students and our families, our community. But is there a difference between large CMOs like Inspire NOLA, like the KIPS, or like a medium-sized one like Renew, or a single site like Warren Easton? Do we see any big variance?
It's interesting because there is for sure variance across the city, but there aren't big differences based on organizational size.
Got it.
So you'll see a CMO and a single site kind of paying in the 25th percentile overall, and a single site and a CMO paying in the 90th percentile overall. It is more about how folks are choosing to use their money to pay teachers than it is about size.
Got it. Okay, thanks for that. And then what about grade levels? Like if I teach high school, am I getting paid more than someone who teaches kindergarten?
That's the theory. I think there's a theory that high school teachers make more. What we found is that early childhood teachers and high school teachers make a little more, but it was around $2,000 more than elementary or middle school teachers. When you break that out over a paycheck, it's not actually a big significant difference. So not really huge differences on that.
I knew I should have went to kindergarten.
Pre-K. Go all the way back.
Go all the way. Oh, jeez. I don't think I would have made it. All right. And then when we also talk about teacher compensation, when we talk about the salary, we talk about years of experience and degrees. Tell me how's that come into play?
Yeah. So as we talked about, new to teaching folks are making around $50,000. So that's about what your starting salary is. If you then look at someone who's making 11 years in, they're making about $61-ish thousand. So over time, teachers are making more money.
Got it.
It is just not a lot more money over time.
Got it. Okay. And so then, Libby, what about new to teaching professional? I think you just hit on this for us. You said that they make roughly about $50,000 now, correct?
Yep.
And then is there a gap? Let's say let's take ourselves, Orleans Parish, and compare us to St. Tammany, Jefferson, Plaquemines. How do we fare out there?
Yeah, so New Orleans, again, is a magical place, but this is not one of the places we are winning.
I feel like I'm at Disney World. Come on. What is it?
So Jefferson Parish, we are paying a little bit more, about $700 more than median. So in JP, you're going to start at $49,300.
Okay.
But compared to any other parish, we are making less. So our new to teachers are making less, which then means over time they are also making less. So it might be more expensive to live here, but we aren't paying our teachers aligned with that. They are making less money than somewhere else.
As the parents say, I used to be an administrator. They'll come to the school when they have a gripe and they say, "Make it make sense."
Make it make sense.
Make it make sense.
But can't.
This happened and this the result. It don't make sense. The
Make it
math
make
isn't mathing.
Math's not mathing.
The math's not mathing, y'all. Oh my goodness. All right, so Candace, you're constantly hiring for teachers, I imagine, right?
We are. It doesn't stop. Never.
Right now.
Never stops.
If you'd like to teach, Candace.
Yes. Anybody?
You during the school year and then during hiring season as well. All right. This can be costly, I imagine, right?
Oh, of course.
Oh, geez. How much does it take costs to replace a teacher?
Yeah. So there's data that tells you
Okay.
that the estimated cost to replace a teacher for your recruitment that you're putting in,
Okay.
for the training that you're putting into that teacher, it's about $21,000.
Wow.
Which is a number that surprised me. But you also have to think that it goes beyond that. It's not
does.
just the financial cost we're talking about, which you don't want to forget that $21,000 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
But you also are dealing with, there's a cost that you're going to have to school culture. If you have someone who started the school year, who went out and met the parents, got to know the kids, and they were there, and then a random week in September, they're no longer there.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're going to have, who's going to be doing their duty posts?
Uh-huh.
Who kids are like, where did Miss Frazier go? I like Miss Frazier. So those are things, those relationships that are being built with the staff, with the families, with the students, that all has to be rebuilt by someone new if you can find that new person. And then, so those are things you've got to think about. It's not just about the money. It's about the non-financial costs that you also have to consider.
Yeah. So then, Candace, when you're hiring, because you've been doing this for a while now.
She's a pro.
All right,
Years.
you're a pro.
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna say
An elder, some would say.
As one of my professors would say, seasoned.
Seasoned. That's it.
You're seasoned.
That sounds so good.
Just like a piece of meat.
All right. At your organization, what values do you all have when you're hiring?
I mean, I'm sure our values are very much like everyone else. We want people who understand what they're going to be bringing to the profession.
Okay.
That above all, this cannot just be a job. We want people who, hopefully, when they woke up that day, they wanted to come into the classroom.
Yeah.
They wanted to make an impact on students. In an ideal world, we're looking for people who want to make this a career.
Yeah.
And who are going to put in the time and the energy it's going to take for them to even to get better at it.
Yeah.
And that they're going to see that this is not just a job where they're working with adults, but they are choosing to work with students.
Yeah.
And students who are going to be bringing their whole selves to school, and that you have to be also be understanding of that, be willing to put in that time and in that investment to it.
Yeah.
I mean, that is what we're looking for. If we have people who come to us with just those skills and that desire, then we can work with it. We can train you to be a teacher.
Yeah.
We can, but right now we're not seeing enough people who want to do that.
That's right.
And who are willing to see that it's not just a job. This isn't because you couldn't find anything else.
Yeah.
This has to be something that you very much want. And we also want to build it into the type of profession where, once again, it can be something where people want to stay in it, hopefully for a lifetime, but at least not just for 1 year or 2 years.
Yeah, I go back to my teaching years, and Libby chime in too. Like, I feel like I didn't get good till like year 3, 4.
That's right. And, people always used to say those who can do and those who can't teach. I think that is so wrong. I think teaching is one of the hardest things. You've got to know your content. You got to know your kids. You've got to be able to make something work for 20, 25, 30 kids at any given moment, have their attention, understand. It is just an incredibly complex work that you've got to do as a teacher.
And thinking about now, you in New Orleans, well, our Hispanic population is increasing. So I got to know my content. I got to grade the papers. I got to talk to the parents. I need to use Google Translate. I need to make sure that this student gets all their accommodations.
All their grades in. Yeah. There's so much we ask of our teachers.
Make it make sense.
Yeah. And not just the Hispanic population, like our kids.
Yeah.
We realize they come to us with so many needs.
Yes, Candace.
And if there's someone who doesn't understand that, then this also may not be the profession for them. But if they've got the desire, then we can work with you. We can give you the tools of how, like, for a kid who's got this social need or who has been dealing with this at home, we can build around to be able to make it work for you to be a good teacher.
Got it.
Because that's another thing. We'd like to be able to, and I think Inspire NOLA has done a good job of this, to build up systems to where when someone comes to one of our schools, that they can focus on being a great teacher, and then we'll have the other social, emotional things that are in place to be able to meet those needs.
Okay. Well, Libby, over the past 5 years, you mentioned that we've been doing the compensation studies.
Yep.
We've been prioritizing teacher pay. How's it looking? Talk to me.
I think schools have worked really hard to put their money behind what they value with teachers. And so what we've seen in just the last 5 years is that schools have increased teacher pay 15 to 17% in the last 5 years, which is great. I think they are thinking about their resources, making smart choices in that way. The tricky part is that inflation has increased 24% nationally. And for anybody who is a homeowner or is looking to rent a place, you know that probably that number is even higher locally. Inflation is even higher in New Orleans than it is nationally. And so even though teachers are making more money, it doesn't feel that way to them.
Yeah. Compared to 1996, Libby.
This is a fascinating, there's an idea that they talk about the teacher wage penalty.
Okay.
So if you go back to 1996 and you take any college grad, basically a teacher was making almost the same thing as other college graduates.
Okay.
If you look today, if I'm a college graduate and Candace is a college graduate, if I go to teach, I'm going to have the teacher wage penalty, which means since 1996, Candace's wages have gone up each week by about $445 a week. As a teacher, same degree, mine have gone up by $29 a week since then. And so we are just seeing this massive cost that it is to be a teacher compared to somebody who has the same degree.
Yeah. And when you think about it's not just teachers working in buildings, in our school buildings. We got social workers.
Yes.
We have nurses. These people are degreed. They have to go through all these different certifications as well. How are they? How are teachers faring out when compared to those employees?
Yes. And so we often use social workers and nurses as a comparison point because they have similar levels of education or degrees required. We knew that if you were a licensed clinical social worker or a registered nurse, you are likely going to make more money. But we were surprised at two things. One, even in a school, a nurse and a social worker is making more than a teacher. You're working in the same building, working the same set of kids. Nurses and social workers are making $5,000 to $10,000 more. You leave the school building, and those folks are making $20,000, $30,000, sometimes $40,000 more over the course of their career than teachers.
Baby. My mama used to say, "Why you did that? Why you did that to yourself, baby?" Now, Libby, you mentioned some good things right now because I'm ready to just throw my house in the water at this rate. The taxes,
Can't do it.
I just can't. I can't keep up. All right. When it comes to the cost of living and potentially having a child in New Orleans with a teacher's salary, what are some challenges that exist? Is it even possible?
So we wanted to put these numbers in context. So, for example, if you're looking at what $55,000 was 5 to 10 years ago, it's basically worth $41K now. So it sounds like a good number, but really what it gets to is much lower. And the Economic Policy Institute has this thing called a family budget calculator.
Okay.
And so what they want to say is like, what does it look like to have a modest yet adequate lifestyle? That's kind of their bar. And if you are a single adult with no children, you can hit that bar in New Orleans on a teacher's salary. So you need somewhere between 47 and 51 or 52 to live this modest yet adequate lifestyle. However, if you are a single parent with one child, just got one kiddo at home, it's just me, I need nearly $70,000 in salary to live that same lifestyle. So $55K as our median is not even close. And so we're essentially saying, hey, you can't be a single parent with one child or multiple and teach. We are making it almost impossible for that to happen.
As Libby was talking, all I could do was shake my head. That's all I could do.
Make it make sense, Dr. Ross.
I could stop shaking my head. Candace, really quickly, how do you think we can get more people rallied behind this initiative of increasing teacher pay?
I mean, I think everyone already knows that people don't go into this profession for the money.
Yeah.
However, I don't think people are fully aware now of those numbers that Libby just shared with us. We hear 55,000 and people are like, oh, well, you are able to have your summers off, so that should be good enough. But they don't know that 55,000 basically equals 47,000 or less after taxes.
Yeah.
Or they don't know that if you are a parent with one kid, you need to be making 70 to 75,000 to have an adequate lifestyle. I think we need to be raising awareness about this.
Okay.
We also need to bring in other people. Like, just as schools and as districts and as networks, we can't do this on our own.
We can't do it alone.
We're going to need the community support. We're going to need our legislatures. We're going to need funders to be able to come and make a difference.
Got it.
We feel like it can happen.
Okay.
And we can get us to that point, but not by ourselves.
That part, you heard it right here. All right, last question. We always ask our people on the show. You got 10 seconds each. What is your one hope for the city of New Orleans? Libby, we'll go with you first.
Yeah, I think like Shonda Rhimes said during COVID, how do we pay teachers $1 million a year for doing this work so that parents don't have to do it at home?
They felt it. They felt it. They know what it's like.
I mean, I want to second that right there. But if we can't give them $1 million, then I'd love to be able to give them $75,000 a year.
I love to make it realistic, Candace.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So thank you to Libby and Candace, my good friends and colleagues in the education space, for joining us today on Talk That. NOLA Education, presented by New Schools for New Orleans. It was a pleasure having you both on the show. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you.
Be sure to join us next Monday. Same place, same time. If you're interested in more about our dynamic teachers, and if you want to, you're inspired, you heard this call, and you want to support, reach out to me. We definitely want to get more money in teachers' pockets. Or if you need a job, holler at us too. We got the New Orleans Teacher Job Board. You got Candace Frazier right here. She got money. They gonna make it happen.
What?
All right. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, the New Orleans Teacher Community, on Instagram, NOLA Teacher Community. This is your host, Dr. Ross, signing off. Peace and nothing but love.
Hey folks, what's up? It's